8:06 on this Wednesday morning, excuse me. Don't rush the week by too quickly. Weather forecast looks okay for today, about a 20% chance of rain. It's going to remain warm, but get that umbrella out tomorrow. 70% chance of rain on Thursday, and then 70% on Saturday as well, so it's likely to be a wet weekend, so have that umbrella nearby. Don't get caught without it. Talking education this morning, as we like to do, and joining us to do that, the superintendent of the Valdosta City Schools, Dr. Bill Cason, with us. Dr. Cason, how are you?
I'm fine. Good morning.
And also Jennifer Steely from the Board of Education. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
And with a beautiful young Sage Steely with you as well. We're glad she's here in studio with us, and another good student in your city school system, Dr. Cason.
Absolutely.
A lot going on, obviously, with our city school system, and I know you had the meeting last night and got a good turnout, which was good to hear.
We did. I was pleased with the turnout, especially since we kind of messed up and scheduled it on Valentine's Day. But our schedule is so tight right now with our building program. It just hard to fit in all the meetings that we need, and we're trying to reach all our publics with the plans and bring everybody along as we go.
The new Pineville Elementary School was the subject last night, and again, a good turnout, which shows that people are interested. First of all, Dr. Cason, give us where are we right now with that project?
Well, we're into the design phase, and that's what the topic of the meeting was last night. And some actual work is already going on. We're in the demolition phase of a certain part of the current PLC. That's where the new school will be built. So we're in the demolition phase. So once again, we're moving along rather quickly. And some questions came up about that last night, and we answered those questions and addressed issues about the new school. And the crowd, when they left, were very, very pleased with the design of the school.
Anytime you get to one now, it's got to be a lot more modernized, obviously. And how's it different drastically than other schools?
It won't look anything like our other elementary schools. We wanted something different. We wanted something that's really beautiful for this area of town, because as you know, it's one of the lower income areas of our city, and we wanted to make sure that we got something good there for our children who attend there.
And also, I'm sure that when you're designing a project like this, you got to plan for growth, because you know what it's going to be like in 2 years, but you really don't know what it's going to be like, say, in 20 or 30 years down the line.
We're actually building the school to originally house 800 students, but we're designing the core facilities, the media center, the cafeteria, those areas, to expand to 1,000 if we ever needed to.
So people got to look at the plans last night, and again, if you are in that area, you will notice some changes with demolition going on right now, and that will continue. What's the timeline on this project? What's the next step in the phase?
Well, after we're finished with all the preliminaries, then the next step is to get State Department approval of the plans, and then actually begin the process to prepare all the documents to bid the facility out. So
gotcha. Is that ever a headache, the approval from the State Department?
Not usually,
yeah.
Especially when you're working with a good architect, and we are working with a good architectural firm. So they're good about just going to Atlanta and set and say, we need this now.
Yeah,
so,
let's get it going.
I think they won't let that slow us down.
Do we? I know it's impossible to say exactly, but when do we anticipate the opening of the school?
Well, it'll be 2013 school year is what we're planning. There's one concern that came up last night that I want to address. There were questions related to where will we house the current PLC students, our alternative school students. Fortunately, that facility was large enough that we could move the kids into vacant classrooms and still have plenty of room in that facility to continue holding that program on that campus, while part of it's being demolished and the new school being built within a few feet of the current facility. There's still plenty of room there to house the 230 some odd students that we have there.
So really no adjustment. They'll still be at the same site.
Absolutely. No, they'll see very little change.
Well, that'll cut down a lot of confusion, so that's
right.
Good.
And so when that happens, then when the new school is built, we'll just simply swap campuses. Those kids will go to the old Southeast school. At least that's the plans for right now. And we'll move into the new school with the new K-5.
a lot of people will be excited about that at Pineville Elementary School. And again, you said that's 800 students is what it's planned for?
I think that's right, 800 students with the possibility of going to 1,000 if we need to.
Gotcha. Very good. That's exciting. We'll keep everyone up to date on how that project is going over the next, I guess, 18 months before we're looking at opening dates. So also, I know up now, of course, if you want information about the Valdosta City School System, gocats.org, excuse me, is a great website that's always updated. And on there now, Jennifer, the school calendar, the proposed school calendar.
Yes, we have the draft that was presented to the board on Monday night. And we did our calendar process a little bit differently this year. In the past, we've created 2 or 3 calendars and then put those out and let parents vote. But we had listened and heard that, okay, well, that's great that you're letting me vote on it, but you aren't giving me the options of what type of calendar I want. So this year, we put out a survey, do you like a 3-day Thanksgiving, a 5-day Thanksgiving? Do you prefer a fall and a winter break? One of the things we talked about before the break was with Christmas falling on a Tuesday, it kind of makes it a little more difficult for planning around that.
Sure.
Usually in the past you're out the week before Christmas and the week after Christmas, and the kids usually have about 3 days even after that before they go back. But it's just difficult planning and making everyone happy. So we had about, I think I had about 850 total responses to the survey.
Wow.
Yeah, I would like to have 7,850
Sure.
to represent the student population, but we're pleased with what we got. And so right now the calendar draft is out there, and you can just send me comments. I've put it out on all of our social media sites as well, so you can go to Facebook, Facebook.com / Valdosta City Schools is our Facebook page, and most of our schools actually have Facebook pages as well. So we've put those calendars out and just asked for feedback. Again, I don't know if that's going to be the final version. I mean, we certainly want to listen and hear what our families and our community has to say about it. But the loudest and clearest message was, is there any way that we can kind of at least work with Lowndes? And we do that every year. One of the things that makes it a little more difficult for us to be day for day is the fact that they have calendar adjustment days. Fortunately, we don't have to do that in Valdosta City. So those 4 days were kind of difficult to plan
Sure.
around. So, but for the most part, right now, the first day of school, the last day of school, and the day that we come back after Christmas break are all the same.
That's good.
And spring break, Thanksgiving break, the biggest difference was the winter break. They have opted to move theirs into March, and ours we looked at the last Thursday and Friday in February.
Gotcha.
So, or Monday, I don't even remember now.
Yeah.
I've looked at those colored dots so much in the past few weeks. But again, we listened and we did our very best. I don't think we'll ever be able to match day for day, but we certainly understand. We share a lot of families and students and the business community in common. So we want to do what we can to accommodate everybody. But sometimes it's not possible to do it 100%. But we certainly have tried.
Well, you say it is difficult to please everyone. I'm sure as our superintendent will tell you, it is impossible to please everyone. So, but that's great that you're trying to work out with Lowndes County Schools as well to make it as uniform as possible. So again, what's the timeline? If folks want to respond, when do they need to do that by?
Well, it's out there now, so they can go to gocats.org and look at it. It's the top story in our press room. And then hopefully we will adopt the calendar at our last board meeting, which is Monday, February 27th. If I'm correct. I believe that's correct.
That's correct.
So the next week or two, go ahead and try to take a look at that if you can, and let Jennifer know. And we will have a new calendar soon, which everyone is always interested about. And this is a pure layman question, but do you does the calendar, as far as when you get a Christmas break and things of that nature, does that fall whenever you have testing as well, at the end of the semester? Do you try to schedule around that, or is that even possible to do? I mean, because when you're talking about making a calendar, it's got to be next to impossible to achieve everything that you want as far as that goes. So,
well, testing, we always talk about testing when we're designing a calendar, because the way currently with all the high stakes testing that we have to do, you better pay attention. And the age-old story now of having to start school so early so you can get in instructional days prior to CRCT testing is always an issue.
Sure.
And then, of course, you look at when your testing window is, and when do you want to start and stop school, and when do you want to have vacations either before or after that testing window.
Right.
And
yeah.
So it's always a concern when you're developing a calendar.
Difficult task.
And Chris, one of the things that we get a lot of questions about too is, well, I used to go after Labor Day, and then we were done in the beginning of June, and we've talked about that. But one of the things to remember is when I was in school, there were a number of holidays we didn't celebrate. Typically, we only had a 3-day Thanksgiving. Well, our folks spoke loud and clear; they liked that 5 days. I'm sure the community does too, because my husband may not be happy about this, but I spend a lot more money on those 2 days that I'm not at work.
Retailers like that.
Yes, yes. But we didn't have MLK Day.
That's right.
We didn't have all of the fall break, the winter break. So when you start accounting for all those days here and there that we take off, because I remember we'd go and then we'd have Labor Day like the next week, and I graduated, I remember, on June 4th, but we did not have all these little holidays in between.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of people that said, okay, well, let's look at some of the Atlanta area schools. They seem to be able to fit in a week break almost once a month. And okay, so do we want to match Atlanta or do we want to match Leon?
It's 180 days, however you slice it.
It is. So it is. It's really a difficult task. And again, it's one of those things. When we had our SACS accreditation a couple of years ago, the one thing I said to the committee was, I learned the hard way that when you're working with other people's children, you rarely make everybody happy.
Exactly right. Let me ask you real quick, Dr. Cason, the waiver that was recently given to Georgia for No Child Left Behind. Let me get your thoughts on that.
I think it's great, obviously.
I thought you might say that.
Yeah. We still don't know all the details because all the details haven't been worked out at the state level, but we have received the waiver. It's a good thing. And I hope eventually the whole No Child Left Behind law will be completely revamped and revised and go to something different. I love to hold teachers accountable. I love to hold myself accountable, but I don't need government intervention into every facet of schooling to make sure that happens. And No Child Left Behind created losers rather than winners, and I want us to get away from that. And with getting the waiver and being able to do some different things is a great thing. I think it's a first step, but we need to move on from here and take a total look at that law.
Time to leave it behind, for sure.
It is.
And that just goes back to what we talk about often on this show, and as it pertains to education, is more local control, because what works in Valdosta may not work in Atlanta, may not work in Donaldsonville or in Hiawassee. Or, I mean, everybody has different challenges that they face and different opportunities that they have, and that's why I like having more local control, so we can figure out what's best for us.
Well, even the differences between Lowndes and Valdosta school districts, where the poverty level within the city is much higher than it is in the county, and all those things make a difference. So you have to adjust your instructional programs to meet the needs of those kids that you have coming through your doors. So, and then when you compare us to Atlanta, Gwinnett County, that has more money than they know what to do with, it's
a nice problem to have.
Would be. But we're extremely fortunate here too. I'm not a huge complainer. We were looking at in the building program, and Marty gave me a piece of information that I wasn't aware of. Our pull factor, which in this town is over 2 to 1. In other words, for every dollar spent of local money, we pull in I think it's 2.17 of money from outside this school district. So that's a tremendous help with our SPLOST.
Yeah. That is a huge help. And
that relieves a lot of fear moving on then to build a new high school, because if the public passes SPLOST 5, we can do that with no problem at all. So
absolutely. Now, we had a caller earlier, Dr. Cason, who was asking to get your thoughts on the charter schools. This is a discussion which has been going on in Atlanta. They had the vote last week or a couple of weeks ago, and it was voted down. Just in a general sense, not to speak to the bill necessarily, but in a general way, talking about charter schools, what are your thoughts on those, and where do you think the future is of that discussion?
Well, my own opinion is I'm not a huge fan of charter schools for several different reasons, but one of the primary reasons is local control. With the charter school movement as it's currently set up, or would be set up, the local Board of Education would lose control of those schools and lose control of the funding, because the funding would be pulled directly out of our money that we earn based on our FTE. That damages our other schools, so I'm not a huge fan. Now, if the state wanted to provide additional monies and still maintain local control, I could support charter schools, but it's hard to have a school in your community that your local elected officials have absolutely no control over, and those are my main concerns. And charter schools, in my opinion, almost develops a class system where you pull students away from your other schools, and instead of having a really good mixture of students in your schools, you sometimes would not have with charter schools in your neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's again goes goes back to that issue, I think, of local control, and like you said, when you talk about taxpayer money, going to something besides public education, why not just, again, let's all work together to make our public schools better? And that's where, we talked about a lot last year, and I think is where we need to continue to put our efforts.
Well, and that leads me to this. We're not where we need to be with our public schools, but I would put our teachers up against anybody that they could find to put in a charter school.
Yeah.
Our teachers are fantastic for the most part, and I would hate to see that part of our school district watered down as well by pulling out, because if you have a charter school, they're going to go after your best and brightest,
sure they
and
are,
especially
exactly.
if they can pay more.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's just a lot of things that I'm concerned about with the charter school movement.
And to just bust the myth, Valdosta City School System is growing. You've added students over the last few years.
We have, and we'll continue to. And I think when we get a new high school built, that we'll pull even more students back into our school district. And we've had steady growth for the past 4 years. It's
past
not
11.
Yeah.
Well, actually past 11, but even more significant the past 4. And
right.
It's a good thing.
Gotcha. Again, Dr. Bill Cason, Jennifer Steedley from the Valdosta City School System joining us. The next school board meeting is next week, correct?
No, the second and fourth Mondays of the month.
Got my calendar mixed
The
up.
second Monday is always in our office on 1204 William Street. The fourth, we try to rotate through our school district so we can have a little more room. We usually try to do a little more student and teacher recognitions when we're out at the schools. And the 27th is going to be at Salis Mahone.
Very good. So,
Do I have time to mention one other quick thing?
You have all the time you want, so go right ahead.
This past board meeting, we had a group of students, and how it happened, I was in one of our schools and just walking the hallways, and I heard this beautiful music sound coming out of one of the classrooms, so I had to step in and see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a group of kids singing about verbs and adverbs. It was actually part of their lesson, part of the performance standards.
Really?
And so I asked this group of kids if they would come to the board and do that little song for the board, and they did, and it was fantastic. Parents came out. The boardroom was filled with parents and grandparents, and those kids enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it as much as they did. So.
I bet.
And we have their picture on our Facebook page if you'd like to go and look at that group. They even had T-shirts made. They were so excited to have been asked to come and perform for the board.
Well, that's the kind of stuff where you get that buy-in from students and parents that's just invaluable. You can't put a price on it. So, by the way, we could be here until noon talking about all the different things in the schools, but if you want to find out about meetings and courses going on, spring carnivals, athletics, all different kinds of programs, gocats.org has a complete list list of all of that. And know your school's webpage as well, because there's always updated things from the staff and the principals there at our city schools on their own pages, which are found. You can get to those off gocats.org, and so do that and keep up with what's going on. I know that really teachers love when parents want to get involved and communicate with them through email or whatnot. So,
and we have also recently teamed up with Wiregrass Georgia Technical College to offer some parenting classes. I actually sent out a press release yesterday. One of the first classes was yesterday. It's called Oh Baby, and it was about how to prepare for life with a new infant in your home. And there's 4 different classes that are going to be offered. Each class is offered twice, and those are rotating through the calendar on our website as well. We've sent home information with all of the students in the Valdosta City School System, but it's open to anyone. And we're rotating the classes down at the Mildred Hunter Center, and then also the Orally West Community Center. So great information, especially for parents that may not have the resources available to go and seek out that type of information. Again, anything from having a baby to how to help your kids with homework that maybe you might not be able to help with, and I've experienced that a little bit myself already.
That would be, I don't care who you are, that would be a help.
So definitely check out the website. Again, you're right, anything from spring carnivals to parenting classes to spelling bees. And one other thing, at our meeting on Monday night, the other recognition we had was Jacob Beverly. He was named the Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year, and this is the 3rd year in a row that I remember that Youth of the Year has been a member of the Valdosta High School graduating class. So we're really proud of him. But we do typically try to have some student or staff recognition at every meeting, just for the pat on the back, just to know that the board is recognizing your work. Dr. Cason is recognizing your work, and everybody at the central office is proud of who you are and what you're doing for our system.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Jacob. That's a huge honor, so and well deserved, I'm sure. Dr. Cason, as always, we appreciate your time. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. Jennifer, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Sage, good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning as well. Again, gocats.org is that website. You can go on there and find out anything going on with our school system. And after our news here at the bottom of the hour, we'll tell you, sports-wise, we're going to have Wintersville Classic Round 4 basketball, the region basketball tournament up in Tifton. The Valdosta Wildcat boys and the Lowndes Vikings will play each other tomorrow. We'll give you the complete schedule of that region tournament and lots of other sports coming up, as well as our strange story of the day. That'll be coming up next half hour as well, so stay tuned for that. All coming up after your local news update and Fox News. More of the Morning Drive brought to you by our good friends at Valdosta Toyota coming up right after this. You're listening to News Talk 105.9, and this is WVGA.